But first we join Joe at a garden that he designed for Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Buckinghamshire.
Garden design is always a challenge. It's brain stretching, and working with the elements can be testing. Just over 2 years ago, the windows of the National Spinal Injury Centre at Stoke Mandeville Hospital looked out over shrubs and grass. But with uneven paths and a slope, it was out of reach for many patients. A charity called Horatio's Garden is on a mission to build an accessible garden for every NHS spinal centre in the UK. Jackie Martin-Loff is the head gardener here.
The brief for the garden was to create a very beautiful garden, 365 days a year, that was patient-friendly for a patient in a chair or in a bed, so no right angles, smooth curves, but also for them to be able to reach some of the flowers and tend to some of the flowers, or to come along and pick the sweet peas. That was also an important part of the brief.
Patients in wheelchairs and beds are extremely vulnerable, so the paths had to be wide and the surface pancake flat, because even the tiniest bump can be extremely painful. So the first thing to do was bring in the diggers. We came up with this.
Almost half an acre of flat landscape garden to give patients access to nature and more independence. It's also got an accessible greenhouse big enough for 2 beds and an outdoor garden room, where they can make a cuppa with their families and sit indoors or out.
There's a series of seating pods, all created with these sinuous curved lines, and a wheelchair or a bed, it won't take long before it creates that separation between the areas. Now, movement is a key element in any garden, but here it felt particularly important because of the clinical environment within the hospital. So the way to get movement in is through moving water, which also adds a lovely sound too. And then we've got this curved wall behind it, which bounces the sound around the garden and into the wards when the doors are open. Fundamentally, I wanted to celebrate nature in all its glory and bring it right into the hospital grounds, in fact, right up to the hospital windows and doors. Now, I knew it would work from a design point of view, but I didn't realise the impact it was going to have.
Hannah Mosin is 18. She's had multiple operations for a spinal cord injury. And so far, she and her mother, Anissa, have lived in this hospital for over 7 months.
At the beginning, I didn't want to leave my room. I kind of felt like my room was a safety blanket. You have days where you don't want to talk to anyone or you don't want to do anything, and it's not a good trap to kind of fall into because it can cause so many different, it can like lead to depression and things. So it's really nice to come out here and just sit here and look at all the plants or talk to people. But now I love getting up and coming out here. I look forward to that during the day.
When Hannah was being hoisted and was in the bed and able to move, it was quite nice. We were on this ward and they would bring her bed out, the whole bed. Even if she said no, they said, no, you need to get out so get some fresh air. And so we just come out with a bed. And you have multiple beds in here. And the families, you know, like sitting with their loved ones and just enjoying the plants and the air, and it's really lovely. A few hours later, you could just see her changing and just bubbly, and you can see her, like I can see my daughter back, you know, like not the depressed one. I could just see her being happy and jolly.
Sarah Wilson came to this spinal unit 9 months ago as a result of a horse riding accident. Her youngest daughter is 3 years old.
Having children visit you in hospital, children by nature are quite noisy at times. So being able to come out here and they can play and just have some space where you feel that that's okay, rather than you're waking someone up or, you're in the way in a ward environment, it's made a big difference to them. Previous hospital I was on a top floor ward with no windows, very hot, very stuffy, very uninviting environment for children. But here, they love coming here, love visiting me, which is amazing.
As well as the patients tending plants in the greenhouse, there are activities and workshops here, including a recent one about propagation that's open to everyone.
So yeah, they just sat me up slightly and I was just able to put the pots on my lap, and it was everybody just helps us and gets involved, and it was a really lovely afternoon. And being stuck inside for so long, it meant a lot to be back outside and enjoying the time with other patients.
This garden at Stoke Mandeville has been open for just a year, so there's masses of growing and filling out that's still to come. But already it's had a positive impact.
I think it surprises us all, really, the power that a garden can have over our mood each time we step out into it. There is one patient in particular who comes out in his electric chair, and because the garden has been designed on these beautiful curves, he follows the curves of the garden and just works his way around the entirety, looking at the planting and taking the garden in several times. He doesn't just do one lap, completely within his own world. Yeah, it's very special.
This is the most important garden I have ever designed, and it proves to me the power of nature and that gardens really can be life-changing.
It's been such a privilege to be a part of it, and the result has been truly overwhelming.